Hi guys, it's Erin with Hand Stamp Style, and excuse me, I have a cute project to show you guys today. We are going to learn how to make these. Are these cute? These little notepads. I have a whole bunch made for a craft fair that I have coming up. And you open them and look, they have a coordinating notepad inside. So I'm going to show you how to make one of those today, and they are so simple. Okay, so you're going to need to start out with a few things. One is a base piece of cardstock. I'm using just basic white, Whisper White, for my base, and I'll give you the measurements here in a minute. And then you'll need some designer paper, and what I did for mine is I just printed out a whole bunch of different styles off of my MDS, and that way I had a nice sampling of them, because I always buy all this designer paper, and since I digitally scrapbook, I don't scrapbook the traditional way, and so I have it forever. So I like doing this a little bit better. I print out just what I need, and then and I don't have any left over, which is kind of nice. So you'll have two pieces, the exact same size. Let me see what the measurements are here. These are, I'm reading this upside down, 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. And I believe they're both the same size. So I have the same pattern for the bottom, and then roughly the same pattern, I believe these went together like that, for the top, 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. And then you'll need a strip for the middle, and this is just 1 inch by 5 inch. And then this is going to go on the top of our notepad in a little bit. So we're going to do the assembly part of it, and I started out with a piece of cardstock. This measures, I cut these a couple of days ago, so I don't remember off the top of my head. Okay, so this measures, oh, I wrote it down right here, 10 5/8. Let me see if I can get that on the screen for you. 10 5/8 by 7. And then I scored at 5, and I know it says 5 1/2 here, but that's not correct. It's 5, and at, let me show you, because I don't know the measurement of this. Let me get it close to the screen. I gotta do it in the light. Okay, so if you can see that little mark, it's the little mark right after the fourth inch, and just before the, what would that be, the 4/8, I think. That little mark right there. Let me see if I can zoom in so you can see which one my finger's on. Boop. There we go. And so it'll be 5, and that little tiny mark after the fourth inch mark. Okay, so it won't be a 3, it'll be a 5. So you'll score it at 5, and then 5 and just past 5 1/4. Okay, so that's what you'll do. Let me fix this. Okay, all right. So once you get that cut and scored, and as you can see, I've cut my sheet and I've scored it, we are going to adhere our designer papers to the fronts. And so all I'm going to do is, and I don't really put a whole bunch of adhesive on them because they're going to go inside the little plastic cover of the clear stamping cases, the clear mount stamp cases. Okay, and then you can decide whether you want, I want these to be on top, so I'm going to do them like this because I want this one to be on the front. I usually put the busier pattern on the bottom because it looks heavier to me. So like for instance, in this one, I put the busier one on the bottom because that is just kind of where the weight sits for me anyway. But you can do it however you would like. And then we're just going to attach this just like this. And all I'm doing is kind of eyeballing it to, get as close as possible to have kind of a little border around the designer paper. And you definitely want to be sure and score your binding area before you put these on, because that'll help you kind of position it in the right place. Okay, now what we also have is a couple of strips of solid cardstock that coordinate with your designer paper. And these measure, let me see, what did I end up with? 1 1/4 inch by 5 inches. And I'm going to show you how I get the exact even or mirrored image on both sides. See how this ends? I don't know if you can see it against the pattern paper. See how it ends the same way on both sides? I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so I've gotten one side done already. And what I always do is I start on my punch, I start right, I'm going to try and show it upside down so you can see it. Basically, I'll show you on this one because it's easier. So I'll start my paper so that it butts up just like that. So I have a nice clean edge on the very front. And so to get the mirrored image, instead of flipping it around and doing it like this, I flip it over. So if I've just finished this side, I flip it over like this, and then I start. And I have butted up. Notice that it, obviously I'm not doing the edge first, but that gives me the exact area of where I should be. And then I kind of have to see this, sorry, in order to punch these out properly. And then you just follow along. If you've ever used these punches, they're actually really kind of cool because you just line up your punched out image you cover up the silver portion of the pattern, and it gives you this perfect little design. Okay, so we're going to add these on next. What I do, because I usually cut these, let me do this up here, I cut this strip slightly longer than 5 inches because I would much rather it be a little too long than too short. And I butt up the edge to the edge of where my bind starts. And see how that hangs over just a little bit? I'm going to put those on. And again, I'm not putting on a ton of adhesive because it will stay fairly well all by itself because it'll be kind of sandwiched in the little case. Okay, now before we put on the other layer, I don't know if you can see this, but it's got a little bit of an overhang, so I'm going to trim those off because I have found that when I put the second layer on top, it is hard to cut through 2 layers, so I don't do that. Okay, and then we've got our little decorative strips. Again, these are 1 inch by a little more than 5 inches. And I just lay them directly on. And here we go. I think that one's not straight completely actually, but let's see if I can fix it. There we go. There. Now we'll do the same thing. Flip it over, trim off the excess. Now, you can do, like for this one, where'd it go? I actually used the letter of my first name because this is the one that I'm going to carry around. But you can do, what I've done for the others that I'm going to sell is just die cut an N. See if you can see that. And then I've just stamped the word note on there a few times. I did one in white, you can kind of see it, and then one in pink. And that's going to go on top of my little decorative scallop. So I've got one here that I used the 2 3/8 scallop punch to create. and then I embossed it with my Big Shot. And then I've got another one here that's just the smaller scallop circle. And we're going to take that one and we're going to kind of just distress it ourselves. You just want to kind of muck it up and get it really wrinkly. Okay. And then we're going to put some adhesive on this one. We're going to put this down just like that. Because I want this to be on the front, I'm going to put this right here. And then I just use a little Tombow glue for the letter. Let me get this here. And then we're going to secure that down on the front there. And give that a few seconds to dry. And that's it for the cover of it. So for this, you're going to need some sticky strip and your designer paper. And what I do is I put a line of sticky strip along the front of your notepad where that little thick perforation part starts right there. And then I do a line of it, let me get this started, across the top. And the tape is going to be wider than your surface area there. And I'll show you how to fix that. Then, so you've got tape on the front, tape on the top. So this is actually going to go in the front like this. And so what I want to do is put a piece of sticky strip on the bottom of the back of the designer piece, the decorative piece that you're going to use on your notepad. Because I just kind of use scraps, so I couldn't put it on the pad itself because I'd never know exactly where to put it. Because my measurements are always, because I use scrap, so they'd always be different. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want to pull out the tape and the thing. Hopefully that will stay down. Here's what I'm going to do though, just to make sure that it does. I'm going to cut a little piece, an additional piece of sticky strip. You, of course, would not need to do this step because you would be gentle about, oh my goodness, and I did it again. So that's what you get when you cut off all your fingernails. There we go. And now that thing won't come off. Lay that down. All right, it's fixed. All right, and then what you're going to do is you're going to line up the edge of your paper to the edge of your notepad there and push that down. Now, for this piece on top, you're going to, again, gently, sorry, I know you can't see anything with my hands in the way. Okay, so I'm peeling that back. And one thing you're going to do, make sure I can get this on the tape, you are going to gently fold down that excess sticky strip that is hanging over the side, okay, so that it's completely done. Okay, now what I do is I lay it face down and I just use the pressure of pushing it onto, see how it sticks and it folds it and it almost kind of scores it at the same time. Then you want to take off the tape. Oh, look at that. I found the other piece of thing, the red part. Man, this stuff is staticky and it doesn't come off. Okay, so we're going to finish our roll and really push down and secure that paper down. All right, there you go. We are going to fit our cover in there. And this is kind of tricky because if you do it too quickly and you try and shove it in there like I have before, you go like this and you push too hard, it will just, without even realizing, it'll cut all down the side like that, and then your plastic is gone. You can't reattach it. So what I like to do, let me see if I can show you this. Let me see if it'll get me on the camera. There we go. This is kind of hard for me to do upside down. Okay. I bend it backwards like this. I feed in that side. Then there. See how I tented up the paper? I don't know if you can see it. See how I've tented it up? And it fits it in really nicely. Then you go really slow to get it into that, to get these pieces under the paper without, or under the plastic part without it catching and ripping and all that good stuff. And you just really have to be gentle with it. I gotta turn this over because I can't do it upside down. There we go. It looks really hard the way I was doing it because I couldn't do it upside down. See, and I just bent that. There we go. There. Okay. And then you just slide it all the way down, getting it in place. You don't want it sticking out too much at the top or too much at the bottom, and you want to get it centered. And see how that perfectly fits? It looks great on both sides. Then we just drop our notepad in. It fits perfectly. Now the only other part to this that I think would be really cute is to add some ribbon along the side. Okay, so we are going to add some ribbon, coordinating ribbon, to our little notepad here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to feed it through the middle. And if you can see, it kind of, there's like a little, it's like a little area at the bottom. It just pulls right out really easily. And let me see if I can get this shut. I have to be looking at these usually. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to just tie a knot at the bottom here. This is kind of tricky when you're doing it by yourself. Upside down, and here I'll show you a trick that I use. Take my tweezers, because I like a really tight knot to hold it. There we go. It's a really tight knot. And then you just trim off your edges, and there you are. Cute, adorable gift for teachers, your neighbors, anybody, or even just to keep in your purse so that the notepad doesn't get all messed up. So I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully you guys will go and try and make your own, and have a great day. Bye.